From our City Avenue studios, it's The 10 Show with Bill Henley and Lori Wilson.
Still to come on The 10 Show, we'll meet local mothers who are banding together to end violent crime.
When Mayor Nutter took office back in January of last year, he made solving Philadelphia's crime problem one of his top priorities. By the end of 2008, homicides and shootings were all down in the 9 districts targeted in the mayor's crime plan. For the mothers of local murder victims, it's a step in the right direction, but it's not enough. The group Mothers in Charge wants to put a stop to these senseless murders once and for all. The group is comprised of local mothers, each of whom has lost a child to violence. Their stories are now being told in a new biography being unveiled at the African American Museum. It's called Faces of Courage, and it not only gives these mothers a chance to share their pain, but to provide comfort to others coping with loss. And joining us now is the founder of Mothers in Charge, Dorothy Johnson Spite. Thank you so much for being here. Now, for people who aren't familiar, for people who don't know about your story and why you founded Mothers in Charge, share with them, because I know that you lost your son.
Yes.
He was 24 years old. Tell me the story.
Khalid was 24 years old, graduate of University of Maryland Eastern Shore, was doing all the right things with his life, and on December 6, 2001, a very angry person shot him 7 times over a parking space. So Mothers in Charge was born as a result of that loss. I wanted to do something with my pain and my tears and my anger and everything that I felt as a result of Khalid's death, and that's how and why I started Mothers in Charge.
And it's interesting because I can't imagine what it's like to lose a child. I have to think it's
the worst. The
worst pain imaginable.
Yes.
And so at what point, as you're grieving, at what point are you able to wake up and say, I'm going to do something with this. I'm going to channel it into something positive that is not only going to help me, but help others?
Of course it wasn't initially, because initially it was devastating, and I didn't think I would really make it. I didn't think I would survive it. But in May of 2003 is actually when Mothers in Charge was started, a couple of years after Khalid's death.
And was it, you're obviously not alone in Mothers in Charge, so your story, as devastating as it is, you share that with these other women. A
courageous group of women who make up Mothers in Charge, who most of whom have lost loved ones, a son or daughter or grandson or nephew or someone that they love, they've lost to violence, and they've taken their pain as well and channeled into something that's very powerful to make a difference with the issue of violence in the city.
And it's interesting because when I first got here, it's been a few years ago, but I remember coming and doing a story with you and Lynn Abraham at the time, and I just remember the fact that you all were very interested in being proactive, in preventing violence.
Absolutely.
And helping to not only be there for other victims of violence, but also make sure what happened to your children doesn't happen to others.
That is the mission of Mothers in Charge, to be very proactive, to develop interventions and programs that will address the issue of violence, where we want to stop it, not continuing to provide support to grieving families, but to make a difference with the issue of violence.
So it's not just an organization now, they're not just programs, there's a book.
There's a book, yes, there's a book, there's a beautiful book.
And tell me about the book. It has everyone's stories?
It's 26 mothers that are profiled in the book with beautiful pictures from Chris Chrisman, who's a wonderful photographer. These stories were written by different writers in the city of Philadelphia, different journalists have written
your
stories.
Picture there.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And they've written the stories.
They've written the stories of the mothers to tell how they've experienced the tragedy, but more important, how they've risen above the tragedy and are doing powerful things with that tragedy and turning that into something powerful.
Yes. And also the exhibit that's going on now at the African American Museum, these pictures, these women, Modesta Morales, as we're looking at there, these are all on display.
Yes.
And what are you hoping that people come down, and what do you want them to experience when they...
I want them to experience, to be encouraged. There are many people who've had tragedy in their lives, and we're hoping that our stories will encourage, inspire, and also move people to want to do something around the issue of violence. If we can get up and make a difference with in spite of our loss, then we're hoping that others who read the book and see the exhibit at the African American Museum will be moved to do something in the city of Philadelphia. It's something that we all have to work toward to make a difference with the issue of violence. It's not just Mothers in Charge. It has to be, a collaboration of everyone here in the city of Philadelphia working for change.
And it's interesting, it's at the African American Museum. Faces of Courage book exhibit from 5:30 to 6:30. You can check that out tomorrow.
Actually, it's 5:30 to 7:30 tonight.
5:30
to
7:30 tomorrow.
Yes, Friday.
So you've got a couple of hours
Yes.
there to check out
Yes.
that beautiful exhibit. I'm assuming
the
buy
book.
books as well.
We're taking pre-orders, yes.
All right, Dorothy Johnson Speight. That book will be available this spring. We're back with more 10 after this.